So I woke up from my coma. I'm a bit like discombobulated, sitting there. My partner's there. He's telling me that I've just been sleeping for a week. I'm thinking he's joking. All my family members are turning up now. Everyone's crying. I thought it was a big joke, like someone's gonna come out and say, "You got pranked." And then they showed me my body. They pulled back the covers. I saw my hands and feet, which were damaged, black. I was in ICU, then I went to HG, which is like the high dependency unit, and someone had come to visit me, and that's when I first was told that I need amputation.
What was that like receiving that information?
Crazy. I was like, no, that's not happening. I'm not agreeing to that.
Were they able to tell you how you contracted sepsis?
From the strep A.
And did they tell you how you got the strep A?
No.
No.
They cut off the below the knee of the black parts,
Yeah.
and then on my left arm, below the elbow, the right hand was fine, it's just the fingers were dead.
All of the fingers?
Yeah, but I was grateful for the right hand to not lose that whole hand as well.
Welcome to Off the Record, a platform for individuals to speak their truth, discuss their thoughts, and own their stories. We will be having candid conversations dissecting various events, asking the questions we're all eager to know, and hopefully coming to graceful conclusions. I'm your host, Mire Oni, the one and only. Let's get into it. Today we are joined by a young woman whose life has been completely altered by traumatic, life-changing events. Some things that we can only imagine going through, and is now using her platform to speak and spread awareness. Welcome to the show, Deesh. Hello, hello, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you for joining us. How was your journey in?
Great.
Yeah.
I actually live quite local now, so.
Oh, okay, good,
yeah.
good, because it didn't take you too long.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story. I can imagine that this is quite a difficult story to share, but I admire your bravery first and foremost. Just tell us a little bit about who you are, and before we get into the core of the story.
Well, my name's Khadija, but I go by Deesh. Like all my friends and family call me Deesh. I'm a mother of 4, and basically in 2023 I was pregnant with twins, and I gave birth and contracted sepsis.
Before we get onto the sepsis, tell us a bit more about who you were prior to that. So what was life like before that?
I was just a normal 28-year-old at the time. I was a mother to 2 older kids as well. I had my own little crafting business, so I was doing my own thing that I started in lockdown.
Yeah.
So I was generally just a normal, healthy young lady, really.
You mentioned that you had a crafting business. Can you expand on that? What was that?
So basically I make like personalized items.
Okay.
So that could range from like stickers for businesses, or like, you know, when you have the cups and you have to personalize your name on it and stuff, or hampers, or like boxes, like anything really for different occasions.
Is that the one where you have to do the vinyl, print the vinyl?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
so I had
okay.
that Cricut machine. And
Yes, I know that. And then were you selling it on Etsy or just like personally?
It was like word of mouth and friends and like Facebook groups and all that stuff.
And how lucrative would you say the business was?
It was going well because I started in lockdown.
Okay.
And that was a time when everyone was in the house. So like I started off with the cups, and everyone like loved that because they just wanted like their name on the cups.
Yeah.
So that's how it started off, and then I started expanding, doing other things. Then I had friends that had businesses, and they wanted like stickers for their businesses and stuff, so personalized stuff for their businesses. So that would be like every time they would get a booking, they'll book through me, like maybe like a vinyl for a backdrop or stuff like that.
Was this before you got pregnant, you mentioned?
Yeah, so I had when I started my crafting business, my daughter, it was lockdown, my second born was only probably about 7-8 months. She was young.
But you were still managing both?
I was doing at home, managing, because I was like at home. So I was like, I want to do something, plus lockdown had hit. I didn't want to go back to working. So I just started my own business.
No, that's amazing. So you mentioned that you got pregnant in...
I got pregnant in 2022, but I had them in 2023.
Okay, so you got pregnant in 2022, and then you had twins, right?
In
Was it a girl and a boy that you
Girl
had?
and a boy twins,
okay,
yeah.
nice. And what are their names?
Zalasia and Zakari.
Oh, that's so nice. Tell us a bit about your pregnancy. How was that?
So I've had 2 kids prior to that, and the pregnancy with twins is so much different.
Oh, really?
from the beginning, like the constant vomiting, it was bad. It was times I couldn't even get out of the bed.
Oh, wow.
Or like drink water because everything would make me sick. So it was a lot. I definitely understand when they say it's worse when you have twins.
Oh, really?
Like the hormone levels of having two is just like crazy.
Okay, there goes my dream of having twins.
But then after like 4 months, I started settling, getting used to it, not vomiting as much, got back my energy a bit, but it was just a lot on my body having to imagine trying to go to sleep and then there's like one kicking you, or one sleep and then the other one's up kicking the other one, then they're both kicking.
Yeah.
It was crazy, but it was a good experience.
Was it quite heavy?
To be honest, I didn't carry massively considering it was twins. Everyone was like, it doesn't look like you're carrying twins. It looks like you maybe just have one baby.
Yeah.
But I don't ever carry that heavy anyway.
Okay.
But the carrying was not too bad. It's just like, it just had an effect on my body. I would say like the backaches and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were the twins quite small?
For twins, they were actually quite good sizes. The boy was 5'2". And the girl was 5'5".
Okay. And they were full term?
Yeah, they came at 37 weeks, which is full terms for twins.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So after the pregnancy, you've gone to the hospital and you've given birth. Talk me through that process.
So I arrived in the hospital on the 10th of April, feeling some sort of contractions. When I'd got there, they said, I'm not yet started contracting, but I'm near to contracting. And because my older 2 labours were quite fast, they was like, we don't want to send you home and then you give birth, so we'll keep you in. So I stayed in, so that was the 10th. The 11th I was still in labour, but when they was checking me, I wasn't like that far, I wasn't dilating quick enough, so I was like staying at like 2-3 centimetres. So it was a thing of, do we go down for C-section or not? But I didn't want a C-section. So they kind of kept me, and then by the early mornings of the 12th, that's when I gave birth. Okay,
and naturally you gave birth?
Yeah, naturally.
Okay.
They were 45 minutes apart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was that quite a lot on your body?
That was crazy.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
Oh, Lord. After you gave birth, what was that like?
So I gave birth early morning. By the next day, I was getting discharged to go home.
Okay, that's quite quick. For twins as well? Okay. Was there a reason you got discharged so quickly, or?
They just didn't see nothing wrong with me or the twins, so they just said discharge.
Okay.
And to be honest, with my older 2, I always like tend to have them early morning and go home the same day. So I didn't really think that deep into it because I was thinking I usually do this anyway.
Okay, fair enough.
But I didn't expect it with twins. I didn't expect it.
I would have.
I expected it like at least a 1-2 days.
Yeah. Okay, so then now you've gone home.
Yeah.
What's that like?
So we got back home, we introduced them to their older siblings, families come round. I was in pain, but not that much pain, just pain like you just had labour.
Yeah.
Pain. And then the next day, I would say I woke up with excruciating pains in my stomach.
Wow.
By day 2.
When you say excruciating pain, what can you describe what that pain felt like?
Like someone's like stabbing you inside.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I was kind of putting it down to maybe it was just that I had twins. My uterus was contracting back, and considering having 2 babies, it might have been a bit more painful than just having one.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought at first.
And then did you take any painkillers?
Yeah, I was only taking paracetamol at that point because I was breastfeeding.
Okay.
And when I expressed my concerns to the midwife, she told me it probably is that you just had twins. Just stagger the paracetamol with the ibuprofen.
Okay.
And that's what I did.
So day 2, the midwives come round. What happens after that?
So they were there, they told me to stagger the painkillers. They've gone. I kind of just rested, staggering the painkillers, but not feeling very much better, to be honest. Then by the next day, I would say day 3, day 4, it started getting worse. There was a night where I was shivering, like in the bed, and I was like to my partner, I'm like, it's really cold in here. And he was like, it's not cold, the heat is, I just turned the heating on. But I was like non-stop shivering. And then that morning I'd woke up the next day and I was like vomiting now, but I haven't been eating anything. So I'm literally just vomiting, just stomach bowel, just yellow liquid. And it was just crazy. I remember trying everything, like, you know, the herbal remedies, drinking tea, nothing was working. And you know when you know your body, so I was just like, this ain't right.
Were you still in contact with the midwife at this point?
Yeah, another one even came to see me, and I expressed my concerns to her, and she kind of brushed me off as well.
Interesting. And both these midwives were from the hospital that you had given birth at?
No, they were from, so the hospital I'd given birth at is a different borough from where I live.
Oh, okay.
So the borough that I live, they sent their midwives.
Okay.
And yeah.
That's what happened. What hospital did you give birth at?
I don't want to say it is out there, but I don't want to say it because I'm going through some procedures right now.
Fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. On day 5, that's when you went to the hospital, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Day 5, I called the ambulance.
Okay.
And the ambulance came for me. So I remember calling the ambulance and I'm saying, I was just giving birth 5 days ago. I don't feel right. I'm explaining how I feel. And they said, okay, cool, we're going to send an ambulance out. They were here within like 20 minutes.
Okay. So when you got to the hospital, talk us through what happened then.
I got to the hospital, the ambulance took me into A&E. They did like my observations and stuff. I just remember repeatedly vomiting and like literally begging them to give me a private room because I couldn't be around anyone the way I felt. They managed to give me a room and put me on some fluids because they said I was dehydrated at the time. But I just remember like drinking lots and lots of water and it not quenching my thirst. And I was kind of like in and out of consciousness. So I don't really remember fully my A&E experience.
Oh, okay. Were you alone at this point?
Yeah, because my partner had to stay with the kids
yeah.
and school run and the 2 babies.
Okay.
So yeah, I was just like updating him via text. So what happened was, what they actually told me after, because I don't really remember, but I don't really recall everything. What they told me after is I went into resus, where they were still trying to figure out what was actually going on with me.
You went into where, sorry?
Resus.
What's resus?
So resus is a part of A&E,
Okay.
like for more like serious cases,
Okay.
like where they're keeping a close eye on you. So I was there for a bit. They were still running tests, CT scans, etc. And then they still didn't know. So they put me in ICU, intensive care.
Oh, wow.
Where they wanted to keep a close eye on me to actually figure out what's actually going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how long were you in the ICU before they figured out what was wrong with you?
So I was in ICU the next morning. So I've come in on the 17th of April. So the next morning, the 18th, the consultant's come to me. He said, we think you have some sort of abscess in your cervix that needs to be drained, which is causing an infection. So I said, okay. But at this point, I was really poorly. My heart rate's really high. My blood pressure's really low. It's even a risk to put me to sleep. So it was a thing I had to sign these consent forms. And I just remember like waving my family goodbye and going down to theatre. I remember before everything went black, I just said to myself, I got this. And it went black. And then what I'd woken up from, which I thought was my surgery, was actually a week of being in induced coma.
Did you have surgery?
Yeah, so they had the surgery and they kept me asleep in induced coma because my heart rate and stuff was still not good enough. So me being awake is putting pressure on my heart.
Okay.
So they put me in induced coma for that week to just try to figure out what's actually going on, because I don't actually know if they knew exactly what was going on at that point.
So when you had that surgery, you said that they said you had an abscess.
Yeah.
When they had the surgery, what did they discover then?
They drained the abscess. It was clear fluid, so it was nothing to do. It was not that.
Oh, okay. And then when you woke up from your coma, what were the next steps?
So I woke up from my coma. I'm a bit like discombobulated, sitting there. My partner's there. He's telling me that I've just been sleeping for a week. I'm thinking he's joking. I'm like, you're running jokes. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm serious. So then all my family members are turning up now. Everyone's crying. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm confused. Why are you all crying? They're like, we thought you was going to die. Like, I'm like, what? They're like, you've been like knocked out for a whole week.
And you're just remembering when you said, I got this.
And I'm thinking, you know, like, I thought it was a big joke. Like, someone's going to come out and say, you got pranked. Like, that's what I thought it was going to be. And then they showed me my body. They pulled back the covers because my hands were like underneath the sheet of the blanket. And then I saw my hands and feet, which were damaged black.
Because I've listened to your story online, I don't understand how your body wasn't checked for them to see that you were now, you know, like your arms and feet had turned black. Did they just leave you for the week?
So when I was in the coma for that week, it started turning black.
Okay.
And my family members and partner were saying to them, what's going on with her hand? Why is it turning like that? They were just not really worried about that, to be honest. They were just more worried about keeping me alive. So it wasn't really a concern.
Oh, wow. You mentioned your arms and your feet were turning black. What did you say to the doctors at that point?
I remember just saying, like, what's happened? I didn't come in here like this, so why do I look like this now? And like, I was asking my family members, like, when's it gonna go back to normal? Like, trying to get answers off them, but no one really knew what was going on. Or I don't know if they knew, but they didn't wanna tell me at that time.
Yeah.
Because some of them now tell me that we kind of knew that it was going to get to amputation stage, and I was just like, but they didn't. When I was asking them, they didn't want to break it to me.
Oh, and at this point, are you still seeing your kids?
At that point, when I just had woken up, I hadn't seen them yet.
Okay.
So I was like very discombobulated and just like not really there. So like, I was on a lot of medication and drugs in that induced coma. So I was like seeing things and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So it was when I started getting back to myself when my partner said, do you want me to bring him in to see you?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. So that was after like maybe a couple weeks.
A couple weeks?
Yeah.
Wow. So how long were you in the hospital for?
In total, like my whole stay?
Up until they told you that you had sepsis.
So I'd come in on the 17th, gone into the surgery on the 18th, and then was in induced coma for a week. So when I woke up from that induced coma, that's when I found out that it was sepsis.
Oh, they told you right away?
I think they found out while I was in induced coma that it was sepsis.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure.
When you woke up from the induced coma and then you realised that your hands and your feet were turning black, what was the functionality of your limbs? Could you move?
So my hands were like in like a claw situation, like a claw, like a statue. It was stiff.
Was stuck?
It was stiff, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And my feet was like stiff as well.
So
but I could move my legs, but I couldn't like twiddle my toes or nothing. It was like stiff rock.
So you were just in the bed for the whole time that you were there? Okay. Did it hurt? Were you in pain?
It was like a electric shock tingling sensations.
Constantly?
Yeah.
Oh. Did they give you anything to manage that?
Yeah, so I ended up getting medication which helps nerve pain.
Okay.
And that soothed it a bit, but it was weird because it's like my brain is telling me that my fingers are there and I can move it. So that's why it's sending these signals to your hands and feet, but you can't do nothing. So that's why I'm getting the nerve pain.
Oh, okay. That must have been very horrible.
Yeah.
So I'm so sorry. So when you found out that you had sepsis, how did they tell you? What was that conversation like?
So consultants coming in, when you're in ICU, they kind of like come in every morning and they like discuss you at your bedside. So they'll be like, this is going on, this is going on. So then they told me that I had an infection called Strep A, which then turned into sepsis.
Okay, was that a guess or that was actual factual that you had Strep A?
That's what they say by their findings of my infection. When they put it underneath the microscopes, that's the bacteria that came up, Strep A.
So for those that don't know what sepsis is, can you just give us like a brief description of what it actually is?
Yeah, so sepsis is like a reaction to any infection.
Okay.
It could be like a cut on your skin. If that goes, your body goes out of control with it and don't know how to manage that infection, it turns into something called sepsis. So sepsis ain't really a thing, it's just a reaction to infection.
Okay. And were they able to tell you how you contracted sepsis?
From the Strep A.
And did they tell you how you got the Strep A?
No.
No. Okay.
But Strep A, you can either get it like cold and flu type, like like a flu, or like vaginally. But I would say mine personally would be vaginally, something to do with my birth and after birth.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But they kind of ruled that out, but...
They've ruled that out?
Yeah.
So what's their conclusion of how you got it?
They don't know.
How could they rule it out when you were there to give birth?
Well, they kind of said it's nothing to do with the birth. It's postpartum or after having kids, but they can't say that the Shep A was from that area.
That doesn't sound right. If you just gave birth and
Yeah.
you were obviously on
And I wasn't sick, like coughing or...
Yeah. And you said that the births were 45 minutes apart. So obviously
And I
you
was
were
in labour
there
for
for a
2 whole-
while.
I was in labour for 2 whole days.
Yeah. So that obviously you said earlier that, you know, you're going through the court system right now. Is that something that particularly you're fighting? That part?
Not really, just to look into it on a whole. There's things that they've admitted to.
Okay.
But yeah.
When you were told that you had sepsis, what was the next step?
So I was in ICU, then I went to HG, which is like the high dependency unit. And then from there, so like a month later, I went onto a ward. So I was on the ward, someone had come to visit me, and that's when I first was told that I need amputations.
And what was that like, receiving that information?
Crazy. I was like, no, that's not happening. I'm not agreeing to that. I want to see how much my body can heal. Like, you lot can't tell me you're not God. Like, so that's what I was on. And they was just like, well, it's a risk to have the limbs like this because it can cause further infections. And I was just like, well, I'm willing to see how much my body can heal.
Yeah.
Because you might go and do it and then say, for instance, some sort of miracle happens and it goes back to normal.
Yeah.
Then you've cut off my limbs for no reason. And that's serious. I'm a mother of 4.
Yeah.
I need my limbs.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah.
Of course. So then how long did you wait until, you know, you finally decided to go through with the amputation?
So I went to the ward in May. I got my amputations in August.
Oh, wow. So 3 months?
Yeah, 3 months.
And then what was the progression like for the infection? Did it spread?
No.
Okay.
No infection, more infection. I was actually fine. I was fine in hospital. They just wouldn't let me go because of how bad it was. So the care and needs wouldn't be met at home, obviously, because of how bad it was. But I generally was fine within myself.
Okay.
I was just in hospital.
What made you decide, okay, I'm going to finally have to go through with the amputation?
Because they wouldn't let me home. I was missing out so much time with my children. And it was just like, I need to get back to my life as much as I can. So, and it was, being in hospital was just driving me insane. I was like, I need to get home.
Yeah.
So, had my first amputation August the 22nd, where they just removed the dead parts.
What part of your body was this?
So I have below the knee amputations on both legs. So they cut off the below the knee of the black parts, and then on my left arm below the elbow. That's what they did first, but I still had this hand and the fingers.
Okay.
Then 2 weeks later, on the 5th of September, they made the stumps, which is when they actually fold the skin back and staple it or stitch it. So that's what they did. And that's when they removed the fingers of this hand, when they realised that I didn't actually need the right hand gone. The right hand was fine, it's just the fingers were dead.
All of the fingers?
Yeah. Wow. I got a little tiny bit of my thumb, but apart from that, all fingers.
Wow.
But I was grateful for the right hand because that's what I do things with. So it does a lot, just having that right palm. I drive. So that's the hand I do everything with. So I was just grateful to not lose that whole hand as well.
You mentioned that you drive. How does that work?
So I drove before prior. What I had to do is go to like an assessment, and there's different adaptations for the steering wheel. So I found one that was suitable for me, and what they do is that drive you around the track, and what they then do is just make you comfortable with the adaptations.
Yeah.
So they gave me like 6 driving lessons.
Okay.
Just to get comfortable on the roads, and then I done like a mini assessment, like how you would go for your driving test, but not really your driving test, just to make sure you're comfortable with the adaptation.
Yeah.
And then
is that adaptation within the car or on your body?
It's on the steering wheel.
Oh,
so it's just a little thing that goes on the steering wheel. You can clip it off, clip it on.
Okay.
And yeah, I passed the assessment. I'd already ordered my car, so I had my car ready, but I just needed to get comfortable with the adaptation. So yeah, got used to it, then started driving. I drive with my prosthetic limbs, so I don't have, some people may have like hand controls, so they don't drive with their prosthetic limbs, they use their hands, but I drive with my legs.
Was that a choice that you made? You wanted to do that? Yeah.
And I still have feeling because it's below the knee, so I've got my knee joint so I can move my legs.
Okay. I want to touch on how you were feeling emotionally when you knew that you had to go through the amputation. Like, what was that like?
Emotionally, I was all over the place. I was so upset. I was confused. I was thinking, how could it go from like 0 to 100 like this? I was fine. I felt sick, but I didn't know it was this extreme. Like, yeah, I was just all over the place, I would say. Missing out on the crucial stages of my baby's life. So I've gone when they're 5 days old. So I've missed out like a whole 9 months. I didn't go back home till they were 9 months old.
Wow.
So after I had stayed 6 months in hospital, I'd had to do 3.5 months in rehab, where I had to learn how to walk again with my prosthetic limbs.
And at this point, were you seeing the kids at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I was in hospital and I was on the ward, they were coming regularly every other day after school. The twins would come up in the day. And then when I was in rehab, I used to go home on the weekends. So Monday to Friday, I'd be at rehab, but from Friday night to Sunday night, I'll be at home with the kids.
Wow.
And then go back on Monday.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Looking back, do you feel like your situation could have been prevented?
Definitely.
In what way?
Just knowing the signs and symptoms that sometimes with myself, if I had gone sooner and not listened and just gone as soon as I started feeling that pain, if the medical professionals had seen it from when I'd got into A&E first of all, there's many things that could have prevented this.
And is that all something that is being discussed in your case?
Yeah.
We're just going to move on to like how you've adjusted in life, you know, after being amputated. What does your life look like now, your day-to-day?
So my day-to-day, I kind of just use them like my legs now. It's like my new normal.
Yeah.
So when I wake up in the morning, I put them on straight away, do my day-to-day activities, school run, everything's gone back to normal, but just with these new legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something that I know that when you get amputated, there's is it a phantom?
Phantom pain.
Yeah.
I luckily don't get that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's
a lot of people say like you feel like your foot's still there.
Yeah.
You're itching your foot, but your foot's not really there.
Yeah.
I don't get that at all.
Okay.
Which is good.
I mean, that's an upside. What are the biggest challenges that you find when like adapting now?
I'd say the legs ain't too bad because I'm quite mobile. A lot of amputees are like still in wheelchairs, especially at my stage. It's only been like a year of me being in hospital, out of hospital. So the legs I've gotten with really well. I would say there's this stuff that your hands can do that no prosthetic can't do when it comes to like upper limb prosthetics. Yeah, that's so. Not having my full hands is the hardest part, I would say.
And how is it with the kids? Managing the kids. Obviously, your children are how old now?
The twins are going to be 2 in April.
Wow. And then your older?
My oldest is going to be 12 next month, and the second born is 5.
So how is it managing, you know, 4 kids? They're all still quite young.
Yeah.
With, you know, the changes that have happened.
I would say like we've adapted quite well. I've learned, from when I was in hospital, I was like feeding the babies still with my bottle, like doing it in the crook of my arm and stuff. So there's stuff that I don't do, like making bottles. I have done nappy changes, but it's not something I do because obviously you need like your fingers for those intricate stuff.
Yeah.
But everything else I kind of do with them.
Okay.
And their dad's really good as well.
Oh,
He's
that's
like
really
very hands-on.
good. That's really good. Speaking of their dads, how is that? What's the relationship like? Has that changed in any way, do you think?
Between us?
Yeah.
No, I would say that this kind of brought us closer. Yeah.
That's really good. That's
like,
really good.
Nearly losing me and like yeah. It was a big eye opener.
Just to appreciate you a lot more. That's
and
good.
like him being like the main parent and me being away, seeing how much a mother actually does was like a big eye opener to him as well.
That's good. In terms of like obviously having a partner and things like that, obviously you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but what is it like in terms of like intimacy? Do you think that that's changed in any way? No?
No.
That's good to know. Do you ever feel truly independent now that your situation has changed?
I feel independent, as much independent as I can be, really. I do everything that I was doing before.
Yeah.
When I was in hospital and stuff, I felt like my independence was stripped from me. I wasn't able to feed myself, stuff like that. But now I pretty much have adapted to do everything that I used to do.
Okay.
I might need the odd little help here and there for simple things, but kind of independent, I would say.
Yeah. Prior to everything that was happening, would you say that you were someone that was like quite vocal or quite out there on social media?
No.
No. Okay.
That's another thing. I was very private. All my things are locked. I only got people on my socials that I know.
Yeah.
So like coming out with this story, I've like opened up my Insta and stuff.
Yeah.
And I haven't got any like the odd people chatting rubbish, but speculating.
How can they say what negativity? What negative thing can you say?
You think that, but it's a negative world.
That is true.
I've seen stuff like that I'm lying. I'm like, lying? Isn't
Lying?
it like...
About what? Getting amputated?
And how I might be exaggerating it because they're a nurse and people exaggerate stuff, and how there's not really nothing to exaggerate. It's plain and simple. You can see what I look like. I've heard that one. I've heard people like black women need to stop acting strong, go get help when they need it.
It's like, not the time. Like, this is not the time to say that.
Stuff like that. She better be pressing charges. How's she not pressing charges? Like, just speculating on all that. But generally, I've got love.
Yeah,
yeah.
I would imagine.
I don't really focus on the negativity.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. So in terms of your posting now, you're doing it more so to gain awareness.
It's an awareness thing. Just don't want anyone to go through what I've gone through, really.
Absolutely.
If one person, I've actually had people reach out to me and say, because of your story, I've realised that something was wrong with me, and I've gone to seek help, and I actually had sepsis. So when a lady messaged me, that made my day, because I was thinking that's what this is all about.
Yeah, that's good that you're using your platform to help other people. How did your older two children react to seeing everything that you had gone through?
So my son, the oldest one, he was a bit quiet with it. He was acting fine around me, but family members had told me and his dad that he was really missing me at home, and he didn't really know what was going on. So he was very worried. But I kind of let him know prior to my amputations that this is what's going to happen. Mummy's going to be a bit different. And he was just happy. He's just happy that I'm alive. And then my second born, she was like 3-ish, 4 when it was going on. So she's still very, very little. And she's like my handbag. So she was just like, every time she would come visit me in hospital, she didn't want to go. She would like jump in the bed and be like, I'm staying here with you, Mummy. But she would ask lots of questions like, Mummy, why's your arms black? Why's your legs black? When are they going to get better? Stuff like that. And I'll just answer to her like, it'll be fine. But then when I had my amputations, she came to visit me, and I think she realised the shape of the bed had, like, me in the bed had changed. So she was like, Mom, what's going on, type thing. And then she pulled the cover back and kind of saw, and she's like, I was like, remember I told you they're going to go, but I'm going to get new ones. So every time she would come and visit me, she was just like, where's your new legs? Where's your new legs? But she's
so
like,
they took it quite well
then. They took it really well.
But kids are very adjustable and stuff, so.
Even now when I see like kids down the street, they just want to like stare and ask me questions.
Okay.
So.
Are you quite like forthcoming, and so you just say it how it is?
With kids, I don't know how to say it sometimes. I might just make a story like, oh, a shark bit off or something. So they're like, swear down, like, and then like, they would ask me more questions, or they find me interesting, or like my kids' friends will be like, oh, your mum's really cool, like she's got robo legs or something like that.
Oh, so, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Well, considering anyway. Obviously, I would imagine you have an amazing support system.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the transition like from obviously before this happened to you with your friends to now? Has anything changed in your friendships?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say when you go through some crazy life stuff, you're going to see
who your real friends are, yeah.
And boy,
oh wow,
there was like two that was really close to me. We don't talk anymore.
Why don't you talk anymore?
Just seeing true colours. People ain't really there for you like they make it out.
When you say that people weren't there for you, like in what way?
So how I would be there for like my good friend, I know everyone has their own life, but just like checking in, just not
Just
really
wasn't
there.
happening?
Yeah.
And they knew what you were going through. Did you ever confront them and say like, why you
Yeah,
not?
and then that's when everything went left and then we don't speak now.
Wow, that's so sad. I'm so sorry.
But then I have some people that I wasn't as close to, and now they're like really close to me. So
Because
it's
they
like,
showed up.
yeah,
Okay.
which is weird. And then I have strangers that I didn't actually know at the time that reached out to me, and now we're good friends. And they sometimes are better than the ones I've known for years.
Wow. Do you know the reason why those old friends weren't showing up for you in the way that you wanted them to, or that you thought they would?
I have no clue.
That's a shame.
Maybe some people don't know how to like accept situations, and that maybe sometimes it was too much for them. But some things that were said and done during that time while I was in hospital was just unforgivable.
Would you like to share what
Not
happened?
really.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. Just reflecting on the situation that you've been through, is there anything that you would say you want changed in terms of the system so that this wouldn't happen to anybody else?
Definitely, there needs to be some sort of checking for sepsis, or the medical professionals knowing a bit more what to look out for, because there's not even just me. I've seen so much cases in the media with like young kids going to hospital and them saying that you've just got a viral infection, and the kid going home and then having sepsis and dying. That it's been happening a lot. So it's like, I think the medical professionals that needs some real studying of sepsis, because I don't think they all know what to look out for.
You know, there's the 5 times more with the black women in terms of like when you give birth or just medical negligence in general. Would you say that a lot of the things that you were saying, the symptoms or the pain that you were feeling, was getting brushed aside because you're a black woman?
I was thinking about this the other day and I'm not sure. Okay. I know that happens, but I can't really say that it was anything racist when it was to do with me, because the people in ICU that dealt with me were all white and they saved my life. So I can't really say that it was that because I was, but I've seen a lot of people speculate on that one and say it's because she was black, let her be a white woman, this wouldn't have happened to her. Yeah. But then I know white women that's got sepsis too and lost their limbs. So I can't really say it.
So you think it's more to do with the lack of knowledge around sepsis? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. What are the little things that you think that people take for granted on a day-to-day now that obviously you're in this situation or your life has changed?
Just getting up and going and doing stuff when they want. Like, I've got to go and put on my legs now. I can't just jump out of bed. So it's like, sometimes my limbs might be like sore as well. So it's like, I got to take a rest today because this week I've been up and down. So I just have to know my body and just know.
Is it painful?
No, but it can be if you do like lots of walking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I have quite good prosthetics. I've learned my prosthetics and my body. Some people struggle years into being an amputee or still trying to find the right fit for them. Yeah. But I've had it quite easy.
Through all of this, have there been moments of hope or resilience that have surprised you?
Yeah, I'm surprised. Even now, like how I look back and what's happened in a short space of time, I'm like, I don't understand how I'm actually sane. Like, I'm not mentally ill because I've done and seen a lot in this past couple of years. So
you seem like you're quite positive and you've got a good aura considering what's happened.
Like, I don't know, it was like a new leash of life. After I had my amputations, I thought I would feel like sad, and I didn't. I felt like a weight was lifted off of me.
Why do you feel that? Why do you think that was?
I think because I was like in limbo and I didn't know what's happening, and I was scared to go under general anesthetic and have this big operation. So when I had it, it was just like, okay, this
Like
is
a
a new
relief.
life. I can move on. I'm going to go to rehab. I'm going to smash walking. I'm going to get back out there. And
Would
now,
you say that you're usually a positive person?
a bit of both. I would say before I was kind of not negative, but there was times when I'd be like, this life thing is long, like it's long. But then now I'm fully positive. So I definitely feel like it's giving me like a leash of life.
That's amazing.
Which is weird.
What would you tell your younger self?
Like how old, or that's like young. Any age.
Let's say, because how old are you now?
30.
30. Let's say 20.
What did I tell my younger self? So when I was 20, I had one kid at that point. I'll say just live your life, like, because you know what I did when I had my first kid? Everything was mum mode. Like I was fixated on just being a mum. I kind of neglected myself. So I would say like just take care of yourself, love yourself more.
Yeah. What do you hope to do with your journey in like bringing sepsis awareness? Like, what is your goal, I suppose?
My goal is to get this sepsis awareness thing up there, because so much people don't know how serious it is.
Yeah.
And I want to start like maybe my own podcast.
Nice.
Of getting like people on, because I know a lot of sepsis survivors, but not just about sepsis, like just maybe people that's gone through a life-changing situation, just to come and share their story.
Yeah,
it's
amazing.
a platform for that.
Yeah, no, that sounds so good. Is there anything else you'd like to share that we haven't covered today?
Listen to your gut feeling. If you feel any sort of symptoms that I've said, so I'll just say some symptoms now: shivering, vomiting, diarrhea, breathlessness, feeling like you're going to die, like molting or spotting on your skin, because I also had that on my palm, was like turning a different colour at first while I was in A&E. That's all signs and symptoms of sepsis.
Okay.
Your heart rate is going really fast than normal. You might feel unwell, but it's going really fast. It's a symptom. So it's hard to tell, because there's a lot of things that are the same. You might have like just the flu, you're feeling unwell, you're shivering, you're hot and cold, but there's a certain different symptoms for sepsis. But even if you feel like it's just the flu, it don't hurt to just go and get checked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't brush it off. If that gut feeling inside of me is what saved me.
Okay.
So definitely just always go with your gut. If you don't feel right, get it checked. If you go to a medical professional and they say it's not that, or they brush you off, go see someone else just to double check.
Do you think it's worth getting private like medical care?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I was even saying the other day, like, I'm due to go private because NHS is just under so much pressure.
Yeah, they're really overworked.
Yeah.
How can people support people that have, gone through amputation, or their life has been altered by sepsis, or anything that you've been through? What kind of support would you say would be good?
Just having someone to talk to that maybe is not your family members. That I do therapy, so I have a therapist session every week where I just talk to my therapist. That's someone that's not my family or my friend.
Yeah.
Someone neutral that I can just tell an outlet to. That's definitely needed.
Yeah.
Just having someone to speak to. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. So is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap up? Like, where can people find you? What platforms are you on for them to follow you on?
So I have Instagram. It's __ DEESHH with 2H, Deesh. And TikTok. I think it's the same. And I have a GoFundMe where you can read my whole story and donate if you like. Okay. And share.
Is your GoFundMe on your Instagram page?
Yeah, in my
it's
bio.
Connected. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Well, that was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I mean, you wouldn't have thought that you've gone through all of this. You've got such a positive energy, which I mean, I think is going to really take you far. Good luck with your journey, sharing all of your stories, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank
nice
you
to
so
meet
much
you.
for joining. You too. Thanks for joining us. Well, that is it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, bye.